tweet or something that one of the TSM members said, and it was like, we really don't want W8D2 to call us trash. Let's please not make it 0-4 so we can have some of that saving grace. Because how do you call someone trash when you just lost to him?
It's very difficult, actually.
Well, he could do it.
You can totally do it. Like, hold on. You're trash. That's how you do it.
Ah!
Whoa! I
You
was
didn't even beat me.
W8D2 CLG.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay.
TSM.
No, now I know how you feel. Thanks. Whatever. We're gonna move. I'm just gonna solo cast this game, guys.
Right.
Here we go. Rumble and Zed banned out by CLG, and looking at my crystal ball, I expect Karthus banned out as well against TSM.
If you're wrong, you're gonna need me. You're gonna need me if you're wrong for this one.
Please, Nian, please ban the Karthus so I can feel good about myself.
Yeah, because as we mentioned yesterday, the two most banned single champions for people was actually Twisted Fate against Nian, Karthus against Reginald.
Maybe they'll first pick it?
Maybe CLG will first pick it. Actually, there's a very good chance TSM is forced into this ban because CLG can take it away from him.
Let's see. Yeah, it just depends what they really respect here. Of course, the Shen was dropped away from Diaries. He's been good, that champion, really all split long, all freaking 3 years long, to be fair. Last ban for TSM. Here we go. What do they respect? Because they're like, wait, they didn't ban Karthus. And that's just got to be a little bit of a new shock for them.
They didn't ban anything.
They didn't.
No.
All right.
Shots fired.
Man,
everything's involved.
I got nothing for this one. So now CLG says, all right, well, a lot is on the table right there. Nian does not get to be Peter Parker. Elise is still removed. The Link, Twisted Fate. I mean, those are the two you always, I feel like, want to ban against CLG. And they leave the rest.
So it's really funny because everyone on CLG, since Monte Cristo has became their coach, has those printed out pick ban sheets that, like, I have never seen them, but you can kind of see them. Let's not zoom in. It's very secret.
Yes.
Apparently, it outlines all the different pick ban scenarios and which direction they're supposed to go. I don't think there's going to be anything on there for what if TSM doesn't use their bans. So it at least throws a bit of a curveball at CLG. And it now gives Reginald the opportunity to pick Karthus.
Man, I did zero good things with that Karthus pick. It's like, man, what if they ban it? What if they first pick it? Thresh.
What if they second pick it?
Oh, that's mind games. Like, Link's not going to play that anymore, and they'll sandbag it here. So, the Jace, Dyrus did very well on Jace before.
I'd love a Jace Karthus here by TSM, actually.
Double walls.
Yeah, it's true, actually. It's just the speed wall and the slow wall. And you use them together, and you effectively control where all the fights are happening.
I feel like we're going to go the entire champ select talking about Karthus, and it won't go through.
I'm down with that.
Actually, at the beginning of the show, I was like, guys, I'm going to predict that Karthus keeps getting shown in champs like when I was with Kobe up here. You prayed for short delays. I said, oh, we're going to see Karthus. We're just terrible at everything now. So the Zac and Jace, the hard engage. We've seen Zac a lot in champ select this week. It's gone pretty well for teams overall.
Yeah, here's a bit of a theory about why Karthus may or may not be picked.
Okay.
Because we need to talk about Karthus this entire time. The last time TSM and COG played each other, even though Reginald had been playing a lot of Twisted Fate, and it's actually banned fairly frequently against him, COG did not ban Twisted Fate because they wanted Reginald to play it. And Reginald did play it, and COG was able to win. So there could be a similar mind game going on here between COG and TSM, where COG has very obviously left a high priority champion up for TSM, and TSM's thinking that COG has something waiting for them, which is why they're not taking Karthus until COG shows their whole hand. Remember, TSM does have last pick.
They do, in fact. They can wait around and make sure they get lane matchups they want. So CLG having to show in more of their picks right here. Their jungler for Big Fat LP, the Malphite for Nian as well. So that guy's back in here. A lot of good initiation power. Yeah. CLG very good at starting fights so far in this lineup.
And it's the darkness initiation that CLG likes so much, specifically against TSM. Because they've been very vocal about talking about how they try to abuse Reginald's TSM's reliance on Reginald's shot calling with Nocturne. So they wait for Reginald to go in. Since very often Reginald goes in way ahead of the rest of his team, that's when Big Fat LP uses Darkness. That's when we then usually see Nian going in on Malphite and starting the fight, because it creates chaos and it makes it very difficult for TSM to follow Reginald in if they can't see where they're going.
And you know what's funny about this too is that, thinking of, because we just saw the Ashe, Cop's Ashe, I think, flashed the Malphite ultimate in a prior game earlier from Curse. With Darkness, not only do you not get teammate vision, but your vision range goes down. I feel like that almost puts it within the limits of human reflexes, where he will ult you from outside of your sight range, and it's actually physically impossible to flash him. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I couldn't do it.
We know the pro player reflexes are much higher. We've seen X Special play Thresh, and we've seen W8D2 play Vayne. Those guys react pretty fast to a lot of things. But for mortals,
For
that
mortals.
aren't double lift, right? Then we can pull it off. My Vayne mechanics can't dodge, like... I'm trying to think of something really slow.
There's actually, in the Vayne spotlight, I happened to tumble and dodge a Jarvan Q that I wasn't intending to, and I totally sell that I intended to do that. It's pretty good. I'm like, yeah, I dodged the Jarvan Q because I happened to press the button.
Remember that other thing I did that was really awesome? Yeah, I did that too.
Oh man, that was so great. But so Wild Turtle, though, not a mere human, also a cat. He's going to be hoping for those cat-like reflexes on Graves, see if he can dodge away from Nien in this lineup. Of course, the Sona added in there, and there is Link's Ahri along with the double lift Ezreal. Yeah,
I really like this COG composition because this composition just screams COG playstyle. Doublelift will be able to try to abuse his mechanical proficiency to sit on the outside of teamfights, whereas everyone else, especially Link, I really like how COGs went away from Orianna, because even though Orianna is a very COG champion, it allows him to make more individual plays. And like when COG beats Vulcan, it was a lot of it off of his spectacular play on Ahri landing a lot of good charms.
And it's now going to be the last pick for TSM.
Karthus.
And it's not Karthus. So for the first time in the split, there is not a Karthus in TSM's champion select. He's going back to the Kassadin that he liked so much before and says, yeah, Ahri, not a bad matchup for me. I'm going to rock this.
You don't pick Karthus into Ahri generally either, because Ahri can pretty much kill him when he hits 6. And it also makes it almost increasingly difficult for Karthus to use his ultimate when Ahri is even close, because it makes free charm, triple dash, you're going to stop that cast. And Reginald's Kassadin was okay in their previous game against Dignitas, even though they lost. So I like how TSM waited to the last pick and essentially didn't take the bait of COG to pick Karthus. They were probably expecting that Ahri pick from the onset.
Especially when you consider how hard COG can go and look at picks. I mean, Karthus is going to be a little bit defenseless when a Malphite jumps on him. You're like, I'm in the air, I'm dead. So,
or even just go through it,
I
think is something that COG's composition could do very easily. Karthus would not have fit well into that TSM comp, so it was actually smart of them not to pick it.
No, good idea by COG trying to bait it out. Good job by TSM not taking that bait. And as you said, the mind game saying, they knew about this, they have a plan, so smart.
They know.
I gotta believe that these are two of the most experienced teams in LoL history.
Yeah.
They've got to know the champ select games at this point.
I feel like TSM probably should have banned Nocturne with their last pick, because that is a very core COG pick against TSM.
Yeah.
But they may have been panicking a bit when they ran out of bans.
Oh, well, so... Yep, only 2 coming through. Not 3, not a big deal. CLG fighting for the right to tie TSM in 3rd. These guys have the shot to get themselves to the top 2 of the standings at this point. Vulcan is catchable.
It's very slim shot, but they can do it,
Yeah, it is slim. And of course, at the same time, Coast has the chance of catching these teams for top 6. There's definitely well, counting this 6 games to go for these two teams, they can drop to 11-17 or 10-18. That's not a good record.
I would actually go as far as to say that this game is more important for COG than it is for TSM, because TSM has such an outside chance of getting second. They have more of a cushion of still making it to the playoffs, whereas if COG continues to lose games, they run a much higher risk of losing their playoff spot.
CLG continues to lose games.
Just tell it like it is. They haven't been winning very much.
It's just a good double acronym, that's all I'm saying.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I didn't. Anyway, it was just a joke, really. It wasn't supposed to be a slight on them at all. Actually, there was in the last episode of Game Crib, what Link or someone was trying to is there a good acronym that makes fun of TSM? Because constantly losing games is so clever. We don't have anything to come back at you with that one. So,
we could go on for that, but it would be very. I feel like.
No, I mean, we're not trying to make fun of them. They're great players. Let's be fair.
Anything that starts with team and then has 2 other letters is very easy to say team something like that. Yeah.
Definitely. Or Team SoloMid, that confused a bunch of people over in Europe for a while.
It was very confusing.
It was messed up. Stole their acronym. But TSM making their decisions here in the early game. And look at Wild Turtle. He actually didn't have anything to do early game. He actually stood by his own turret on Graves and just said, all right, you know what? My job is to be defensive. We're not going to face check anything. We're using defensive wards, and we'll be okay here. And CLG, all they've gone for is a couple of aggressive wards into the opposing jungle and then say, all right, let's take our standard setups here and get the level 1 without much interruption.
It's an incredibly tame level 1. I actually feel like COG just went back to base because they wanted to reset their lane positions based off of where they got their wards into TSM's blue buff jungle, and now they're just going for those lane matchups.
And interestingly, no one on CLG is visible by SoloMid. There's not even There's only the one aggressive ward by SoloMid on the blue buff for CLG, but Nocturne's starting red, so TSM has to go blind into the lane matchups. Now, they're going to be standard setups here. Dyrus fights Nian, Link fights Reggie, and the duo lanes fight the duo lanes. CLG had a little bit more knowledge than TSM did going into this.
Yeah, we'll see if it ends up giving them any benefit. I think W8D2 and Chouster really want a 2v2 this lane because they've actually decided to run down. Or wait, they did double golems, didn't they?
I think he has 3. No,
yeah.
they don't. They help the red buff.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have any bonus CS double lift.
What happened to the double golems?
Oh, maybe he did, and I'm just silly.
Golems.
All right, I'm just bad.
We like to do this, like things that we should have been paying attention to, and just talk about them too much. Is that Shen ult up? I swear it is.
Oh my god, it's available! Oh,
right, but this lane in particular, W8D2 usually takes a pretty large time to ramp up, and this is actually Chouster's most played support.
Yeah.
I really want to see if he can land some hooks on X Special and create some early action. Dueling against Graves is actually incredibly dangerous for an Ezreal to do.
It definitely is. So CLG, though, making an early push on this lane. They had level 2 first, but that's been equalized by that TSM lineup. Both junglers have grabbed their own buffs, and in 2v1 lanes, normally they pick to defend a lane or push one down. But with 2v2s, both junglers have gone for farming. Big Pet's trying to farm the enemy jungle.
Ooh.
Oh no, he's actually getting around behind Dyrus.
Yeah, and this is a pretty dangerous spot for Dyrus to be in. Jace is typically very difficult to gank early because of his knockback and the fact that his flash is up, plus he can give himself move speed. But this is a very patient gank by Big Fat LP. He doesn't want to go with that giant minion wave, but he does anyway.
And he has good enough reflexes. I've seen him block these knockbacks before. Nian takes that one. Here comes the jump in. Blocks the slow. Gets the fear.
Oh.
Still gets knocked back by Dyrus. Actually blocked the melee Q instead. And there's the counter gank onto Nian. Down below half HP. Big Fat LP blocks the shock blast. Now flashes away. Both of them at about 200 to 300 health. More attacks coming through. Red buff slow. Not doing too much. Looks like CLG gets away, but a better gank by TSM.
Yeah, this was a huge win for TSM actually, because the size of the minion wave when that gank approached actually lost Nian a lot of experience. Not to mention they also got the gank a little bit turned around since they just didn't get the clean initiation onto Dyrus.
So Nian's going to teleport back in,
close.
but the pull comes in. They actually pulled on Wild Turtle, but he goes in for the pressure under double lift. Exhaust is burned. Do they have the damage? There's the other barrier. Chouster in a duel with Wild Turtle, who has 100 HP right now. Flayed back in.
One more.
Flash, the exhaust, not enough. Chouster taking the kill, now has to run from the minions. Great pickup, CLG.
That is just Thresh confidence more than anything else. As Nian gets ganked again by the odd one, and nothing's happened there. I want to talk about the bottom lane again. The confidence of Chouster to stick through that and actually wait for Wild Turtle's barrier to go down and then stick through to then get the damage in was very well played.
The late exhaust not saving the AD carry. Beautiful stuff here. The early laning lead, and this is CLG, man. They are praised for their bottom lane. They pick an early fight. They get the victory out of it as well. That is exactly what I would expect to see CLG do, I would say, in a 2v2 lane.
And I think one of the reasons these TSM COG games are so great is no matter how the teams are doing in the greater context of the season, it always feels good for the team and the fans to beat the other group. So COG is a losing record on the season, but if they win this game against TSM and go 4-0, it's like success. This was great.
All the CLG fans are like, yeah, CLG's best team NA.
Yeah.
Beat TSM. GG. That's all we wanted. Here we go. Reggie, though, just trying to keep up in his lane. He's actually holding on decently, 24 to 30. It's the bottom lane that's kind of rough right here with the 41 to 29 score line. Dyrus actually, interestingly enough, Nian has actually caught up here, has very equal scores. So it is basically that bottom lane that's making everything happen for Counter Logic.
And we got to see in that Nian feature that played before the show how everyone talks up Nian's lane ability and his 1v1 potential. So even though he has to come back from that failed gank where he lost a lot of minions, he has that Dorn Shield and Cloth Armor plus very good mechanics to just keep up with last hits. It's going to be a difficult lane for Dyrus to harass him down, just knowing how Nian can avoid harass and also get his farm.
But the one thing I do want to point out on the TSM side is the odd one. Since he'd only spent a little bit of time counter-ganking, he's got a significant minion lead on Big Fat LP, but the Flay comes out on a Wild Turtle. Arcane Shift actually, I believe, dodges the buckshot from Wild Turtle. So you have a 35 to 24 minion lead for the odd one. He's got boots when Big Fat doesn't. So it's going to be a pretty big odd one.
And I think they're really going to start battling each other once they hit level 6. Big Fat LP will usually look to combo a gank with Link, not necessarily in the mid lane, but they'll kind of 3 or 4-man gank either the bottom or top lane, and the Odd One is going to have to read that and be there to counter, because the Odd One will be stronger item-wise at that point, so if he can accurately predict where Big Fat LP goes, he'll be able to get a successful counter gank out.
And Odd One actually waiting to knock up his own buff. He knew the timer. Odd One is the guy who keeps the timers, as far as I remember from watching his stream.
Yeah,
so
he's the
like,
master of that.
My red's at 408, 708. All right, Lizard's mine. So he's actually already hit 6. Again, I want to kind of point out the farm lead he's built for himself, because he's got half a level on Big Fat LP. If he wanted to make things happen, he could without Paranoia available.
Yeah, it's just really about him being able to move around the map and counter. You see Big Fat LP still level 5, slowly level 6. That doesn't seem to be high on the Odd One's priority list as of yet, though.
So getting huge, then getting himself the items. There are 2 AP champions from Counter Logic Gaming, not kind of the Ezra Ultimate, or at least magic damage champions. Runic Bulwark would have quite an effect in this game of keeping his backline alive, helping to stack with that nice Sona aura from Xpecial. Reggie just last hitting in his lane, 45-57. Link is starting to build a lead for himself and grabbing this uncontested blue buff. And so is as a question, is CLG the team trying to make moves now that the Paranoia is up, now that Link has blue? Are they the ones forcing ganks around?
It's what they should be doing, but it's not necessarily the way CLG plays. What happens frequently for these guys is they kind of wait to react to what the other team is doing, whereas when they pick compositions like this, they're forcing themselves into preemptive action, which is exactly what they should be looking to do now. Strangely enough, the junglers are in opposite lanes, and Big Fat LP is walking on top of a ward. So this actually gives TSM freedom if they find any type of approach on CLG. But with the position of that wave, it's actually much more unlikely.
And of course, you even saw that Xpecial had pinked that brush as well to keep any vision from spotting the Odd One, who is slinking around in the shadows, going up into the fog, joining his team near the dragon. But now it's TSM who are standing on a ward. And they would have seen that go down. Actually, remember that ward getting a kill off of a site ward earlier. So they're like, you know what? Yeah, that gank didn't work. CLG kind of thought about this one. And Odd One goes back to the farm game.
Yeah, I think that was a smart move for him not to go down and gank there. The junglers are still trying to find their place. But Link, he's good at Ahri. Being able to force that stuff out from Reginald is very important, and it actually gives him will give him a bit of a lead over Reginald here.
That was such a read, actually. I think he like saw the Reggie jump in slow going, and he basically preempted that push in. That was really nice by Link. Just incredible reactions, forcing Reggie out, burning the flash away. Ward comes down, a very good ward that might just be far enough away to see Big Fat LP come up as well from ultimate range. So I feel like Dyrus could be safe up there.
Yeah, Dyrus is just going to have a happy fun time here with Nien. This is actually a pretty good pick against a Jace. Knowing Jace, all physical damage unless he's using his E knockback for magic damage, but Jaces don't do that anymore. Jaces will max the Q because he wants to be able to come in around dragon fight time and just use that poke to his advantage. At this point, the Dyrus and Nien lane is mostly just about farming.
And right now, though, Dyrus has built a small farm lead out of it, 71-64. Dyrus getting the lane push to his own turret now. Potentially could get Zac coming in from the side, but that won't happen here. Nien does have teleport now, though, back up. He used it early on after that gank. Has ulti, has TP. So now CLG has that global presence available. Big Fat Smite back up here. He's level 6. Link's almost got his ulti. I know you said CLG tends to react a little bit more. This is a new comp to them in a way.
It's something they've ran before. It's just like sometimes they're successful with it and sometimes they forget to make the plays happen. And this is maybe one of those games where they just haven't had the opportunities. COD is very ready to accept when they're winning lanes. Because if they actually are winning lanes and they don't let the other team react to them, they will win the game. And right now with that 500 gold lead, COG is content just waiting for TSM to try to make a move.
So they haven't gotten much.
They got 4 people bottom though.
And the ward actually didn't quite see where that ward was, which side of the wall it was on. Big Fat LP though sitting on top of his friendly pink ward there, so he is safe. That's actually on the other side of the cliff. So he wouldn't have spot Ahri come down. There's a ward coming down across the wall from Xpecial, trying to make sure he knows what's going on here. The rest of CLG looking for a pull. Good dodge by Wild Turtle, but they've got turret pressure here. CLG putting damage on the structure.
Yeah, TSM might be making a move towards Dragon Control here just to kind of make something happen, but it's such a tense game here, and I can't wait for the team fights to start happening in this game because both of these guys are extremely mobile, so the team fights will be very exciting to watch. If we look at what CLG's trying to do in the team fights, it's the Darkness plus Nien and Link just going in, and then double if Chouster just game of their own. there's not a mid line that exists for COG. It's a dive team and then Double Lift and Chouster just get to be that singular entity. But when you look at TSM, they have high poke potential just because they have Jace. And then you get Reginald plus Wild Turtle's like assassination and burst potential. I just remember the last game of TSM against Dignitas where they had some amazing disengages, and they have the same potential to do that here as well. The fights are going to be so back and forth.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be mechanical. It's going to be dodging. It's going to be skill shots. Mechanically complex. Mechanical doesn't sound good on its own, but like requiring of mechanics. Complex is probably the right one for it.
We're going to see some turtle mechanics.
We might.
Or Jace mechanics, because he's got a very high-tech hammer.
Yes, that's more likely. Jace is a mechanic almost on his own. An inventor of sorts. We're going to go forward here.
Is he?
One.
You should know the lore. How did he get his hammer gun?
He made it. He's like brilliant and like made it himself.
Okay.
He's a smart dude. Real smart dude. Wild Turtle also hates Victor.
I hate that guy.
This is your favorite?
Yeah, I love Victor, which means I hate Jace.
Oh, okay. Sorry, that guy confused me. You had the wrong pronoun for me. Well, Double Lift, though, happily hates Noxians, by the way.
Okay.
Well, Ezreal does.
All right.
So he's with you. No, wait, he's on it. Okay. Moving forward. Double Lift, though, just keeping
We'll get there. We're slowly
realizing the
lore
we're looking for in this one. Double Lift, though, happy to just knock down these minions and keep that sort of constant 17 minion kill lead that they had early on from the first blood picked up. Early Sightstone, really for both supports here. The wave clear, though, from TSM is keeping CLG from, I guess, really capitalizing on any kind of an early gold lead. They're not growing a lead against TSM, not from this bottom lane. Reggie, though, getting forced back, had to burn just his Rift Walk, whereas Link used Ignite and his ulti, so a bit of a cooldown lead. But notice the turret pressure. Link winning this lane on turret damage, and I feel like CLG can slowly get ahead that way.
Link is an extremely consistent player, and that was actually a defensive Nocturne ultimate, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Link's a consistent player, and this is the lane that COG is winning more than all the others.
Uh-oh, he's been silenced, though, which means the knockup's going to land. Link does not have ulti or flash. Goodbye, Link. Reggie picks up the kill, gets a blue buff for it. Big Fat LP has no ulti for himself, but Nien shows up. Who do they have the damage? Reggie waits in the wings. Does not quite land the slow, though. Dyrus getting dropped lower and lower. Nien, will he ult anyone? Flashes the wall. Here's the team. Whoa. Looks in for Dyrus, gets the kill. That's a pretty cute move right there. Big Fat LP getting an assist on that one.
There were a couple great plays near the very end of that fight where Reginald silenced Nien right when Nien would want to ult, but then Nien still got a good ult in because he waited for post-flash to hop back over the wall. Still, pretty good move for TSM, being able to get a 2-for-1, and most importantly, slowing down Link's Ahri a little bit.
And Nien ulted that in the Fog of War. There was no ward in that brush, so unless Darius was shooting him, he wouldn't have seen him.
Out.
Damage onto Xpecial, though, down about 400 or 500 HP. A little bit painful right there, but the counterattack keeps him safe. Xpecial has the mana bar to regen his life. But the pink ward comes out. It's going to give now CLG control over that brush. It's fun watching these guys in the 2v2 because they're such good supports. Like, the ward control itself is always fun to watch, too.
So much contesting of that bottom lane. I almost feel like the better the supports go, the more they can guess where each other's pink wards are. It's actually really strange watching Lemon Nation because he buys fewer pink wards than anyone else, yet still gets his wards down because he knows where the other team's going to throw their pinks.
It's really impressive. Like, all I know to do is, like, I look at his inventory and count, and then, okay, he disappeared and has one less. It's somewhere in the river, and the better supports know exactly where they went because they'll count how long they were gone and, like, mind game that whole thing. Not something I can do. Yeah, that's too good. Can you just be worse at the game so I can be comparatively better?
I like seeing where to go, but really, Reginald knows where to go right now because it's Dragon. He got 2 kills in that last fight, and there is no one better on TSM to get a bunch of farm than Reginald because if he's powerfully able to go where he wants to go, it just works out so much more better for TSM.
Yep. Works more better for TSM. Dragon goes down, picked up by the odd one, thanks to the pink ward partially. And you got to look at Reggie already with the Archangel staff completed before 16 minutes. The double Doran's ring and the flask there as well. So he's powering up despite a 30 minion kill deficit to his lane opponent. The kills are what mattered for him. He's getting nice and big. CLG, though, making their own sort of move right here. You went for Dragon. All right, we're going to go top turret. But CLG's out of minions. They don't get to get much out of this.
And remember, Link did take down the mid turret just off of his constant pressure against Reginald. So sure, TSM took the Dragon, which was great, but there's not really an answer for the turret pressure and map control that CLG could potentially take from that mid lane advantage.
And see if they can do this right here, because Link is waiting around to try to snipe Dyrus.
So is Reggie, though. This could be a very interesting bait gank. I think both mid laners know that they've followed each other up here.
The junglers are mid.
And since it's on top of a turret, I don't think CLG's going to go, but Reggie's hoping that Link forgot about him.
Yeah, I feel like that's the obvious tells when the junglers are farming their mid lanes. They're like, yeah, you're holding for the roam.
I love it when my mid laner goes to roam, by the way, because I get to farm in mid lane and like not feel bad about it. But that is the absolute tell that actually let them know where they were going.
I mean, look at the minion kills for these junglers, right? They're 2-on-2 lanes, so there's not these crazy lane situations. Both junglers hitting about 100 minion kills. Oh, Reggie tries to dodge the charm, can't do it. Takes a bunch of damage there, and that's Ignite Burn. He's got to run away from this one.
And TSM's lane dominance is actually starting to take hold a little bit here. Even without Big Fat LP camping lanes or creating a little bit of extra pressure in lanes, they've managed to take both the bottom lane and the mid lane turret.
What?
By the way,
Dyrus finding the catch there on the Link. Goodbye, Ari. And the top lane turret won't go down. TSM baiting that turret basically really well. Has not much HP, but they find the kill. Nice done. Nice job. Nicely done.
Yeah, that was interesting. I would love to see that one again just to see how that happened. And we have the replay up right here. Looks like Link just got hit, shock blasted over the wall, and was exploring, didn't expect the burst.
Yeah, he actually tried to ward the brush to the side. That was a fresh ward he put down. Was like, I need to look for Dyrus. Oh, crap, he's
found
there.
Him.
Yeah, found him. Whoops, with my face. And just the silence over the wall. Good job using the Fog of War, TSM. You like that one too much, Jack.
Don't worry about it. Whoops.
All right, so Wild Turtle, though, donated an earlier red buff than we normally see from AD carry. So TSM looking, I would guess, to move into team fights. But Counterlogic Gaming, man, they really want turrets.
I like this game out of COG, getting the turrets down, kind of taking the game into their own hands. If they could get down 3 turrets before TSM gets down any, it is a new style for COG. We've seen them do this once or twice before. I remember they did this in a few games last split, near the end, where COG would have a really good initiative early on in the game and take turrets, and then not be able to close out the rest of the game. We'll see if all that new planning and habit breaking can create a more cohesive move for COG after they get the outer ring down.
All right, now Nian had just pushed the lane out. He's definitely even looking for the inner ring a bit there. The full minion wave got to the secondary turret, forced Reggie to defend it. Link's now going to get his blue buff. You see they've actually moved Doublelift and Chowster to that top lane. They clearly know what the next objective is, putting more numbers up there. Dragons it up for a while. Yes, can we please kill Wild Turtle for this turret? And honestly, Doublelift now up 30 minions. He has a completed Bloodthirster and Manamune compared to no completed item for Wild Turtle. It's a big power spike.
And we know by watching Doublelift on this Ezreal, when he gets going with items, it's good stuff.
And the pull is there. The box lands on the Wild Turtle. Exhaust. The crescendo comes across. Big Fat LP blocked it with his spell shield. The man's reflexes are uncanny. Good kill.
And getting the red buff from Wild Turtle is the best thing that could happen to Doublelift, because it's almost like he's got his Iceborne gauntlets now and is close to being like a full blue Ezreal 15 minutes before he actually should be. This could be a great moment of power for COG and Doublelift.
First turret goes down. No oracles worn by Chowster, whereas Special already did grab one. So we'll see if the investment pays off for TSM, because right now, well, COG doesn't need wards. They know where you guys are anyway. The engage comes across. The knockup is there. Chowster dropped low. Shock Blast lands as well. I take that back. Maybe they do need wards, because there's 1 kill picked up. Big Fat LP is low. Nian catches 3 in the ultimate. 1 kill brought back. Dyrus low. They find another.
Nice shot.
Oh, the Q lands. And Oddwood is now Bloblets. Does CLG have the damage? They're a little bit low on HP. The flash in by Nian makes it happen. Doublelift on a killing spree, but Nian dropped dangerously low. 1 more shot. Wild Turtle picks that one up. Turret low. Interesting team fight.
I still say that's a great series of events for COG, even if it's just a 3-for-2. Being able to get 3 kills onto Doublelift, as well as let him wear the double buffs afterwards, is going to have so much impact. Let's take a look at the replay of this. It looked like a good initiation for TSM, but it was actually the teleport from Yen that killed it. Having that timing for that ultimate exactly in the middle of TSM to get all 3, he could not have positioned that more precisely. And then the snipe Q from Doublelift really sealed the deal.
That was absolutely beautiful play. So Counterlogic Gaming getting the team fight coordination that they wanted, making the 5v4 happen. That teleport so massive, the triple knockup. Yeah, Nian.
Perfect.
We had the video about how you wanted to be the best and you wanted your team to be the best. Well, that ultimate was one of the best as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just wanted to, say something that was a good job, Nian.
I was trying to think of something cute and it just
I mean, you could be Dave
decided
Grohl and
to
just
go,
say,
yeah.
the best, the best.
I was going to say like the best around, but I was trying to make like a circle joke because Malphite's ult is a circle.
You are trying really hard. This is what goes on in my mind, by the way, too. Whenever someone says something and I pause and say something dumb.
I don't usually cast 6 games with you over a week.
Yeah.
Plus, we've had all those nice chats in between games.
So I've just infected you
yeah,
horribly.
this is actually an interesting point in the game, though. We need to get back on topic.
Yes.
COG can get a fight fairly well, but they need Nien's ultimate to be up. Once that happens, they're going to be able to dive straight into TSM. And based on the recent success that COG has had in these fights, I'd expect them to actually look to be aggressive.
Well, they've got control of the Dragon right now. They've taken a bunch of wards down. Chowster wearing the Oracles. Big Fat LP for the first time ever misses a spell shield, by the way. But it might just be enough for CLG anyway. It's dropped lower and lower in HP. There's a smite coming out. That's going to be last hit by Big Fat LP's Duskbringer. And now they look for the mid lane.
And TSM is actually trying to stall out this game a little bit. Normally, it's Doublelift who's off where Wild Turtle is right now, just trying to farm off by himself and negating a large amount of their map presence. So now, since TSM knows the big damage threat for TSM is off in a side lane, it allows them to just go straight up the mid lane here and get a bunch of damage on this turret.
Reggie coming in from the fountain, Wild Turtle coming in the right-hand side. Is it enough for Counter Logic Gaming? Their minion wave is 10 seconds away, and they just tank the turret a little bit to deal like 80 damage, and here's the wave. TSM are nearby.
Yeah, Wild Turtle's been able to loop up a little bit, but that still means that TSM had to react to what the COG was doing and stop farming that spot. COG is still looking for any type of team fight. Even better for them if they can get it in the jungle, since once you use that Nocturne ultimate, all the Fog of War becomes impossible to see inside of. All those wards that you place in the jungle become negated, and it's just such a more clustered place. The Nocturne ult denies even more vision.
Yeah, it's impossible to see in the brush, isn't it?
Yeah. Specifically, that's why Nocturne Akali is so cool. Because if you pink ward inside an Akali Shadow Shroud while a Nocturne ult is running, you still can't see her.
Oh, man. So have fun with that one. It's got to be your own Oracles, otherwise you got nothing. Quick, buy 5 Oracles against Nocturne. All right, let's do this.
But then only the person with the Oracles could see
That's why
it.
you buy 5.
Oh. You're one step
Costs
ahead of me.
2,000 gold. But it's worth it because you can see Akali. Doublelift ults. Ooh, that's interesting. Yeah, CLG had no ward coverage at all on the top side. Chowster's Sightstone. He has regular Sightstone. He ran out of wards. Couldn't ward TSM's jungle.
Doublelift needs to shop. He has almost 3,000 gold right now. And that's why he was scouting that Baron, because he's waited so long to make something happen that if COG actually would have fought, they wouldn't have been at an advantage because they were waiting so long for him to buy items. But now he's bought that Iceborne Gauntlets and he's good to go.
So just waiting around long enough to finish that item there, and here comes the Kite Train for Doublelift. Has a good amount of armor to survive Dyrus and Wild Turtle as well, which I do like as part of that build. But Nien, he's lurking in the shadows. He's in a brush himself, saying, hey, Reggie, do you want to be afraid of me? The TP almost up for
he just
Nien.
used it.
This could be rough.
It's not going to do anything. He can't. For a second, I thought, we've seen all these Kassadins use their Rift Walk to farm and then just getting killed, and I was like, oh man, Nien's gonna blow him up. Wait, he's a full tank Malphite.
Sunfire Cape, 40 DPS.
He's gonna walk out at him and slow him down.
Yes. And then the Rift Walks anyway.
At least for COG, Nien's teleport is up, and the last big fight was actually in that exact spot in the top lane because Nien teleported in. I think COG's really looking to force something here and maybe get yet another teleport fight.
They would have seen a special. He's running away with the ward down. Chowster spots stuff out, says, hey, I'm going to clear out your wards. Gets poked at by Dyrus, but should be all right. And there is CLG looking for their next place to push. They actually haven't found a 4th turret in a while, but they have the damage now.
Yeah, and Odd One, if he goes in, Caston's going to follow, and this should be the fight.
They're going to need to teleport. There's wards around for Counter Logic Gaming. Nocturnal comes across. Is it enough for these guys? They still haven't quite dived in. They go into Odd One. Nien has teleported. He's there.
There
he goes. He finds only Dyrus, but that might just be enough. Odd One forced to jump away. Wild Turtle barriers some of the damage and is still running. Here comes Link. Finds the damage. Wild Turtle, he's going to go down. Nien jumps in under Dyrus. Special ults the back line, the double line of CLG, but more kills come in. Dyrus finds another. Dyrus runs away and gets out. Only 2 deaths actually for TSM. That's impressive.
But think of how low TSM is after that fight. COG's going to be able to continue pushing, get this turret, and unlock an inhibitor. This is now 5 turrets to 0 for CLG. Tremendous map pressure throughout the map.
And look at the home guards scaring them away. Reginald had been stacking his Rift Walk actually while that was happening. You saw how much mana that first Rift Walk cost. It was already like 4 or 5 stacked. They knew to be afraid of the home guard Reggie. CLG now, they look for another pick though. They catch onto the Odd One. Here we go, Iceborne Gauntlet, a lot of damage. He's so small. popped in a little Bloblets. Another power play now up here for Counterlogic Gaming.
And then they also give the kill to Doublelift afterwards, which was just so expert for them. I want to talk about that last fight again, though, because that was a perfect example of how Big Fat OP uses his Nocturne ultimate to stifle TSM engagements.
Okay.
As soon as the odd one went in and started bouncing, Big Fat OP knew Reginald would be behind, and he just used his ultimate right away. So the TSM lost sight of things. That's how Nien snuck in behind.
Reggie's chasing down Doublelift, trying to get away from this one. Oh, here comes Link, though. Reggie, will he dive in? No, the lantern comes across. Reginald's going to survive in Doublelift. 404, death's not found. 405, not as impactful.
All right.
I was so sad he got an assist there, because he was trying to run away, and I was preparing the pun.
Okay.
But then Reggie screwed everything up.
Because he was 4-0-4.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's not found. It was cute. Now it fails. Wild Turtle, though, going to find the turret finally for TSM. One on the board. And it's going to be Doublelift clearing the wave out, but otherwise still a 4,500 kind of gold lead for Counterlogic Gaming. They're pressuring well.
Yeah, let's talk about the Reginald chase there, though. And that was very indicative of TSM when they start losing games a little bit. Their team communication, you can see everyone in the TSM screens right now. Odd One, Dyrus, none of them are talking because they don't know what to do right now. And Reginald also didn't know what to do, so he tried to make a crazy play. And when that stops working, a lot of people say Reginald's very easy to get into that mode. TSM generally falls apart. So CLG has him there right now based on that last play, and they need to capitalize.
Let's see if they can do it then. CLG hoping to keep the pressure on, shifting the members around. You can see Nien still on the right-hand side, this time without teleport, though, which will give an opening for TSM to actually get a real 5-on-5 if they can find it here. Reggie, of course, Riftlock always available, can always start things out, and the rest of the TSM ultimates are up, in fact. It's just really the teleport, the only major cooldown that's missing in this game. But CLG, though, despite that, have enough presence of mind to take over the Dragon right here. Doublelift and Chaucer taking that one very successfully as Nien kept pressure on the right-hand side, and TSM were forming in the top.
And CLG is at a very, very good point for themselves right now. Having Doublelift at 4-on-5 on the Ezreal build specifically is how they generally win games. So anytime TSM wants to dive in for a fight, if they overcommit in the slightest, Doublelift will run them down with those Iceborne Gauntlets and get all the kills.
And he's done that so far. He's been part of 9 of his team's 10 kills, been a huge impact player this time around. And you're seeing CLG move forward. They've got that secondary right-hand side turret, that inhibitor not too far away from them. Of course, the top lane inhibitor actually bare, but CLG says, no, we actually want the secondary ring of turrets first. We'll deal with the inhib later, it seems.
It's a good strategy. Knowing that they have that huge turret lead and an ever-growing gold lead just means CLG should play it safe because they've been able to dictate this game to TSM. It doesn't mean they have to start being reckless.
And they're definitely not being reckless here. They're very measured in their engagements. You're seeing them not dive. It's not Nien running in, starting things, saying, I'm a tank, I can do this. It's them really just playing the map so well. CLG coordinated, taking the objectives they need. We talked about them running teams like this before and not knowing how to close it. So far, they're definitely not making any mistakes. But I'm wondering when they start to turn the screws and close in on the base.
And one thing I'd like to mention as well about CLG being a little different than they have been in the past, I don't think I've ever seen Big Fat OP with this much farm at this point in the game. Specifically because he's tank Nocturne every game and he needs to dive in and initiate. The fact that he's taken a little bit of extra farm this game has just allowed him faster access to that Runic Bulwark to, you know, guard against at least Casted and Zac, who are trying to peel for him, and just be there for longer so CLG can clean up fights. It's very important for CLG that both Big Fat OP and Nien can take damage when they go in to just make that dive buddy formation more successful. Yeah,
and you look at him, he's a Kindle gem up on the Odd One. He's also even investing in pink wards to help his team with map control compared to the Odd One who's, you know, yeah, he has a green ward of his own, but Big Fat OP definitely spending plenty of gold to keep this one happening. The Oracles from Chaucer paying some dividends there, keeping the wards cleared away from TSM. Counterlogic Gaming are saying, all right, we might not have the easiest siege. They've kind of backed away from turrets once in a while, but they've certainly taken a lot of control over this side of the jungle.
Yeah, this is going to be the tensest point in the game for TSM because CLG needs to be able to pull the trigger on a finish here. And if they get poke like that on Dyrus, it's a great start. But it's dangerous because of the active items that have been completed. Think of the Muramana that Dyrus has. It's also matched by Doubleless Muramana. Seraph's Embrace has been completed on Reginald for a while, but at this point he has Zhonya's, so he's much harder to take down if they try to focus him, specifically when he dives in for double lift. Nien is in a bit of a bad spot here.
He's a little alone, gets knocked up into the air, has to run backwards, has a lantern to jump to, finally gets away, but has half HP. That was enough, though, for Counterlogic Gaming to take their 7th turret of the game. So Nien takes some cooldowns, soaks up the damage, gets out, turret.
That actually really worked well for CLG.
Weird, right?
Because they all peeled for Nien, they didn't defend the turret, and CLG was able to just take it. I almost feel like that was somewhat intentional, or at the very least comp, because Nien didn't flash, he didn't ult. He just was like, oh yeah, I'll grab that lantern and my team will take the turret. I really like that move.
I gotta imagine if TSM burned major cooldowns, if they like let's bounce, if they used
yeah, then he would have ulted away.
Yeah, he just ulted away. Like he knew they have to burn more for me to have to use this cooldown. And of course CLG as well could have re-engaged and been like, oh no crescendo, please let us 5-on-5 you.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, so good stuff there. Nien being tanky, making it work for his team. And it's fun to look at players like this and the different sort of builds they make. Thinking back to his Elise, before it started getting banned out, he was like rushing Death Cap. He was going high AP, more damaging than most other releases played. He played half tanky. This time he's like, look, I know I don't need damage here. I can go straight tank. Early Rand was not an Abyssal, not Sork Shoes, goes for Frozen Heart, goes for all this kind of stuff. Different setup here.
I'd say one thing Nien does with his item builds is he will go all in on an idea. He's not hybriding his Malphite. He's not going Sorcerer's Shoes, Haunting Guys, and then tank items like a Magic Pen Malphite would. He's just saying, I am a giant rock, and I am building all of the armor items in the world so the Wild Turtle can't hurt me. And that is his main objective. And I like the fact that he's at least one-dimensional in his builds because it makes him more powerful at doing that thing, as long as CLG plays focused.
And CLG running double tanks very clearly here. Big Fat LP getting good farm, being nice and massive, going towards what looks like Locker to the Iron Solari here. As we are in 3.9. Double is sweeping away some wards. Has to be afraid of Reginald. The guy doesn't have a lot of MR. Good flash by Reggie, though. That hook, I think, would have hit him. So an escape right there. But now you look at CLG. This is cute. He's life-stealing off a Baron, but being out of range for aggro. That's cute.
CLG's done a lot of cute things this game. I gotta say, though, TSM is in a lot of danger here. They could land a 4-man crescendo, but they back off and actually open up CLG's opportunity for initiation.
They crescendo 3 members, but just walk away from that one. TSM didn't want to fight, but had to lose a cooldown to do so. Waiting in another brush. CLG still waiting to face check. Nien so beefy, he happily face tanks anything he wants. And this gives Counterlogic Gaming control of the red buff.
TSM has to find something to do here. It's just difficult because the last time they initiated, they just were blinded, essentially, by the Nocturne ultimate, and they haven't thought of a team fight since then. It's been, I'd say, almost 10 minutes since that team fight, and TSM has only lost map control from then. So TSM needs to fight a little bit in the open if they're able to get this, so they can almost punish CLG for not having a mid line.
They were able to at least find a turret kill down in the mid lane. And Nien, though, looking forward at Dyrus, slows him down, makes them run backwards from this one. Yeah, Sona Heal pretty much eclipsed the damage output from that one. But that was a good move by TSM. They found something to take down as CLG was running around Baron. Didn't take the bait. Now CLG, though, again, trying to control it.
This gold lead is not very big either. 6,000 gold now 35 minutes into the game, despite the 7 turrets to 2 lead, is a very turnaroundable team fight if TSM plays it right.
But Awa gets full caught out and turned into Bloblets. Will TSM re-engage? No crescendo is up. The Bloblet's gonna go down. CLG takes that one. Chouster and Nien a little bit low. Reggie's still looking for the poke. Bottom lane has a big minion wave pushing into the base.
And TSM was already somewhat forced into a decision to go back to defend that minion wave, and now they're down another member. This is a very smiteable Baron for CLG because they have killed the odd one. Essentially, if TSM doesn't want to give up the Baron, they have to fight now.
They're getting a little bit lower health from CLG. Good smoke bomb kind of hurts the re-engage here, but can the damage come across? Baron still have. Chouster goes down. They find the kill, and Reggie pops his Zhonya's. Link goes as well as 2 kills picked up. Dyrus kiting away from Big Fat LP. Double Lift trying to kite away. Wild Turtle staying alive. Big Fat kills on Dyrus. Wild Turtle alive. Kills off Nien. It's now only Double Lift and Big Fat LP. Double finds 1 in a duel with Reggie. Look at the damage output. Double Lift with a double kill. He is massive at 7-0-6.
That fight at least stopped CLG from getting the Baron. That was the spread out fight that TSM wanted to take. They didn't lose inhibitors. They were able to make up for the death of the odd one early on, and they survived in this game. That's a great fight for TSM.
Oh, he knows. I don't know if he knows, because he was just getting away from the wolf camp.
No.
You're saying you knew?
I'm just going to say he knows because it makes him look cooler.
All right, we're going to ask him after.
I'll give him that one. He's Ezreal. He doesn't need a map.
True. For those who couldn't see, which is everyone, Jack throws his pen down like he's dropping the mic.
What now?
We're wearing headsets, so he can't drop the mic, so he takes something else.
Yeah.
CLG, though, starting up on the Baron. Odd1 is a surviving member here, has the jump, has a ward, has smite. It's going to be a battle between the two. He can look because he's on a ward.
This is very dangerous for CLG. They don't know. Wait, Odd1 is on a ward. Why are they still doing this? The ward just died. They think they can outsmite him, but like they have to know the Odd1 could go in. Double peels off early. This is a very dangerous situation for CLG.
Double does have flash, gets in there and just survive from Dyrus. Smite comes out. That's a pickup for Counter Logic Gaming. They baited an Odd1, got the kill. In the end zone, the rest of the team out. Double was one hit from dead, though. That was a fairly late flash.
That was very bold by CLG after a game of very measured decisions. That was an incredibly risky one. But they trusted in Big Fat LP's ability to smite, and he has proven it again and again this year that he can get the Baron down in those smite wars.
Very well played by them. So another lead picked up here for Counter Logic Gaming. Almost 9,000 now from all the moves they've made and taking up the Baron, getting the kills and whatnot. Really good stuff. Of course, in the end, back on the split. TSM, though, have the map control for Dragon. They can close the gap at least a little bit here. Yeah,
this is a consolation prize for giving up the Baron, I feel like, because at least CLG went back to shop and buy some items. After that, you can see Doublelift has hit full items. He's even got his completed scimitar. That is the scariest thing that you can see as a team of TSM, is a 16,500 gold Doublelift, because that means he's reached the late game only 38 minutes in.
He's $4 grand above all his teammates as well, so you've got to kind of hope for CLG's sake they give the farm elsewhere for now, unless he really wants to sell boots Doublelift. Not sure he would, but CLG keeping the pressure on. Well, they have Baron buff.
So for most AD carries, for a full 6-item build, you would want to get that Zephyr. I don't know if Doublelift will do it because he gets more cooldown reduction from his Lucidity boots.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting choice. I think if he ever gets to that much gold, he would sell it, but who knows?
We'll see if we get there right there. He is wearing blue buff, so right now he's maxed out at the very least. Let's see where they go with this one. Putting damage onto the top turret.
Yeah, and this is a really good moment for CLG where TSM is scared to fight them and they can just get that inhibitor uncontested.
Yeah.
What really matters now, though, is how CLG maneuvers around the next turret, because you can hold off one inhibitor being down this late in the game when you have no Baron to worry about. It's the second that is the make or break moment for teams when turtling.
And TSM especially, I feel like with his gold deficit, kind of want to farm off a dead inhibitor. Of course, Baron's still up. Counter Logic Gaming looking to make some pushes in. They've got Nian to initiate, and Reggie's nowhere around.
They know they isolated Reginald, and it takes a long time for him to get back. But they have cleared the wave with Jace Poke. CLG going to get as much damage down as possible because they know TSM won't fight until Reggie home guards back in.
Well, he is there, thankfully, for the TSM squad, but Counter Logic Gaming going for the push on the turret. Look at that, losing a good amount of health every single attack. In the end, walks up and tanks the turret shots, allowing Doublelift to backdoor it from safety. Poke coming out from Dyrus, some decent damage there. Push still coming through. Look at this, losing HP down to about a quarter. TSM have not found their engage yet.
And TSM doesn't have the ability to clean initiate right here. They're trying, though.
They jump in, the crescendo lands, Doublelift down to half HP. Reggie gets caught up and charmed. He is gone right there. Let's bounce from the Odd1, trying to clean up the rest of the team, but he's been exhausted. The chase still coming on through. Odd1 about to be split down and killed. The knockup onto Wild Turtle, feared as well, and he goes down. Counter Logic Gaming winning a huge team fight right in TSM's base.
And it's that wall of tanks that CLG has put up that is making it so difficult for TSM to move through them in a team fight. I said that CLG doesn't really have a mid line, but they didn't need it because their front line is so tanky.
And they're just pushing in right there. 40 seconds on the respawns, 5v3. They catch on a Dyrus. There's the hook. There's the pull in, doing more damage. Last turret goes down. That's going to be the 10 of 11. And Counter Logic Gaming looking for it and going 4-0 against TSM in the split.
They prove again that they just have TSM's number. This was the most decisive COG victory over TSM. You can hear him talking now, saying how it was a great game and how things went so smoothly. And it really showed in that 40-minute victory.
Very, very impressive, and that puts them into a third-place tie with TSM at 11-12 right here. Wow. A few games behind Vulcan, sure, but third place coming into the last week is definitely a good place to be. You're at the top half of the standings. Your playoff spot looking okay, right? You can, get hurt in the last 5 games, but these guys are going to be looking, at least CLG, looking pretty happy coming into the last week.
It gives them a little bit of breathing room, but I don't think it gets them out of the danger zone yet.
No.
Super Week is so many games over such a small period of time that if they have a bad week, they're still going to be struggling. But